So there's been a lot of rumors and discussions about Donovan Mitchell right now. I mean, I think everyone that dad knows that guy is getting traded at this point. I don't know why the Utah Jazz didn't try and hold on to him a little stronger, but they're I don't know, they're kind of entertaining a lot of deals right here. There's even rumors that they're asking for 8 first-round picks. All of this is really being put together to be a disaster that this deal does not happen, and honestly, that might be the best case for Utah, because even though their team is quite frankly in shambles right now and doesn't look like it has a direction other than being an OKC 2.0 from a couple years back, I still feel like at this point, the road that you've taken, you're going to need to trade Donovan Mitchell. And it doesn't seem like they're getting a deal done with the New York Knicks at all, because they're being pretty, hesitant to do it with them. I don't know if they like Fournier and those type of players that the Knicks may be potentially offering. Also, I don't know if the Knicks are going to be wanting to part ways with 8 first-round picks, to be honest. In my opinion, it will probably be more something like a 5 or a 6 first-round pick type deal. But what I do know is a team that's out there right now who may have quite a bit more assets than what the New York Knicks have is actually the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I kind of was thinking to myself, because I saw some dude make a video talking about the Cavs could be a low-key landing spot for Donovan Mitchell. I feel like this is a video that I need to make. Now, again, I don't necessarily think we should go after Donovan Mitchell in terms of I don't want to give up 8 first-round picks, but I'd also like to test the water and test the market and just kind of see what a dude like Donovan Mitchell is worth. What do the Utah Jazz want from us? Because myself and Frelly were actually theorizing that Colin Sexton would be a great player for the Utah Jazz to get, especially in the condition that they're in right now. Basically, they don't have a certified young talent. They're wanting to start this rebuild and blow it up and do all of this type of stuff, but they didn't bring in a young talent at all for Rudy Gobert. Jared Vanderbilt's 25 years old now. He's going to be entering his prime very, very shortly, and he hasn't, I don't think, done a whole lot in the NBA. I think he's 25, maybe he's a little younger. I might give him the benefit of the doubt. But they don't have a really good young talent. Donovan Mitchell is probably still considered their really good young-ish talent. I don't know. He's probably not young very much anymore. I'm not sure. But a dude in Colin Sexton who's only about 22 years old is looking for a new team. He's looking to be a face of the new team. And he wants to start. This guy wants to start. And if you are the Utah Jazz, there is no one more perfect in free agency right now that will not only come to your team and be the face of your franchise, but also give you a young piece to somewhat work around with. And then also, of course, I don't think Colin Sexton is good enough to drag them out of being a bottom 3 seed at the moment. So it'd be an interesting one. Myself, I would probably rather go after Kevin Durant than go after Donovan Mitchell. But then there's murmurs around the league that Brooklyn could be asking for 12 first-round picks. And the fact is, they asked for Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards and 5 first-round picks out of Minnesota. I don't think that trade's ever getting done. I don't know if Kevin Durant is ever getting traded at this point. But the fact of the matter is that Donovan Mitchell would be a good, I think, player for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But also, more importantly, I think, is that I feel like the Utah Jazz would actually lower the pick expectation if they were able to bring in a Colin Sexton. And what I mean by that is that if you bring in a Colin Sexton, you don't need to be asking for 6 or to 8 first-round picks. Because why they're doing that from the Knicks is because they expect to bring in Evan Fournier and maybe another player or two here that are these veteran role players, these and that. They're not expecting to really bring in a young talent that maybe is better than Miles McBride. But if they were to approach the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Cavaliers have assets they can trade up. First of all, Colin Sexton is the big one. Colin Sexton is a dude that can straight away come into this Jazz team, and if the Jazz were absolutely terrible next year and ended up blowing this team up or trading a lot of players, this and that. Goddamn, Colin Sexton could go off for 25 a game. Don't even be shocked if he does, because he would have really no one besides maybe Bojan Bogdanovic to take his shots away from him. That's the reality of things. Then if you're the Utah Jazz, there are players that you could go, and actually ask the Cleveland Cavaliers for. Because the fact is, as I said, Colin Sexton would be basically their only young player, their young, I think, promising dude to build around if they kind of still made these trades happen. There are dudes out there that you can look at. Again, Cedi Osman, he's not exactly young anymore, but can still be a solid role player in the NBA. 27-year-old to help match salaries with. But then, more importantly, I think if you're the Utah Jazz, you would go after Isaac Okoro and try and get Isaac Okoro to the team. If I was them, I would also ask for Luke Travers' draft rights. The dude that the Cavaliers took in the second round this season, who is now going to be playing for the Perth Wildcats for another year, but could literally explode in the NBL this year. If you're the Jazz, having a dude like him as a draft right player that you could maybe pick up soon enough would actually be a pretty cool one, I think, for the Jazz, and would make their young team even look more promising because you also got more players that you could look at in the future. But if you're the Utah Jazz, I'm going to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I'm saying, let's pencil Colin Sexton to a $25 million per year type deal. We'll bring in Isaac Okoro, who's on about $7 million, and we'll bring in Cedi Osman, who's on about $7 million or so. That matches up contracts, and then because you've given us all this good young depth and core, we'll give you 4 future first round picks. And the reality is that would be a great deal for the Utah Jazz, but would also be a great deal for the Cavaliers. They don't really have Colin Sexton even on the roster at the moment. Not just that, they've been trying to move on from Cedi Osman for quite a bit. I'm not sure how much Luke Travers is going to play for them. And Isaac Okoro really hasn't fit into the team since the day that he's got there. He has struggled to do everything that he needs to do. But at the end of the day, he is a pick 5 player with a lot of promise in the NBA that a team like the Jazz would 100% look at. And the fact of the matter is, if you get Donovan Mitchell, the Cavaliers are automatically, they're going to be in the contention to make the finals. The reality is they would have a starting 5 of Darius Garland, who is an all-star, Donovan Mitchell, who is an all-star, Lauri Markkanen at that 3, who's one of the best role players, I think, in the game, one of the most underrated. You got Evan Mobley at the 4, who is going to try and be an all-star this year, in his second year being in the NBA. Jarrett Allen at the 5, who is an all-star. Kevin Love is your 6th man, who finished 3rd and 6th man of the year. The team is stacked. The team is stacked, and then you would still have players like Ricky Rubio, Ochai Agbaji, Karis LeVert, Robin Lopez, Dean Wade, Lamar Stevens off that bench. Goddamn, bringing in Donovan Mitchell would be a scary sight for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, you could say, though, why would we bring in Donovan Mitchell if we could just bring back Colin Sexton? They're both 6'5" guys. The reality is, that is a good point, and that's what I think we should probably do. 6'1" guys, sorry. But at the end of the day, Donovan Mitchell doesn't disturb the ball movement like Colin Sexton does. That's the big issue that a lot of people had with Colin Sexton, was he just destroyed the ball movement a lot at times, and it just wasn't a very good thing to watch. And he ended up really struggling this year in the Cavs when they actually had a system going and all that type of stuff. He only averaged around 28% from 3 on about 16 points per game. But if you bring in Donovan Mitchell to the system, his defense might be as average as what Colin Sexton's is as that too. But I could see Donovan Mitchell averaging 23, 24 points per game in this system. And then if a Garland was to go down with an injury, could get those numbers up to a 28 points per game type of situation. Could average the 5 assists per game as well. Underrated playmaker Donovan Mitchell is, I think, ran a bit of backup point for Utah this year. And then again, he still will average you 38% from 3 probably. Great shot creation, great spacing, all-star talent. Still a young guy that you could pencil in for another 5 years or something like that when you eventually need to. The fact of the matter is, if Cavaliers bring back Colin Sexton, they're probably still going to be a play-in / near playoff team. But if they bring in Donovan Mitchell, they automatically become a finals contending team, because that team would be stacked with another all-star. In reality, it would just be an absolutely lethal team to watch. again, I still feel like Colin Sexton could bounce back and maybe average like a solid 18 points per game this season for the Cavs. But I'm not sure if that's going to be off the bench. I don't know how that's going to go. And he still hasn't been signed. None of that has actually been figured out at all. So there's a lot of ifs and buts that are 100% going to go into it that I don't know about. I'm not sure about. There's a lot of ifs and buts, and it's going to be a really weird situation that I think we're going to have to wait out and just kind of see. And the Cavaliers are going to have to test the waters. But if you're the Jazz and you got offered 4 future first-round picks, Colin Sexton, Isaac Okoro, Cedi Osman, and Luke Travers, draft rights for Donovan Mitchell, I feel like that is a way better offer than like 6 or 7 first-round picks from the Knicks and like an Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose, and Miles McBride. I mean, the Cavaliers' young core that they just offered is like... I mean, the Knicks didn't even really offer a young player besides Miles McBride. The role players aren't that great anymore. Derrick Rose is pretty past it. Evan Fournier had a pretty off year for the Knicks again, same as he had an off time with the Celtics. If you're the Jazz, though, that Cavaliers trade you'd think would 100% look better. You bring in Colin Sexton as a young guy to build around. Isaac Okoro could still develop into being something really special. Maybe not on the Cavs, though. And again, he's a pick 5 talent. Then you also bring in Cedi Osman, a nice role player who's still tradable. And Luke Travers as well, who eventually could be in the NBA and a solid young player, 22-year-old coming into the NBA as well. And it would help your tank better than bringing in veterans like Evan Fournier and Derrick Rose. But again, this is going to be a very interesting one to see go down. This is just all speculation on something that could possibly happen. I don't think the Cavaliers are trading for Donovan Mitchell at all. That's just, it probably won't ever happen. But I thought I'd bring up this video just to say that maybe the Cavaliers should look into it, and it would be a interesting, I think, situation that the Cavaliers could find themselves in. But of course, I would very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for the latest NBA content and NBA news. Don't forget to comment your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Should the Cavaliers look into bringing in Donovan Mitchell, or should they stay away? Go subscribe to my gaming channel, my IRL site for the long channel, and my podcast. All of them will be getting linked in the description down below. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.